Just posting a short video because I was effectively told to shut up. One of the biggest problems that seems to be an increasing problem in this society is narcissism. Narcissists can do a lot of damage, even to a grown adult that has had a normal childhood and healthy sense of self and all this other stuff. It can really fuck you up if you get involved with a narcissist, okay? Now, if you are raised by one, if your internal working models are warped from the mind fuckery that goes on being raised by one, it's really, really hard to break free of that, to heal yourself. I'm 40 years old and I am still struggling to heal myself. And I at least have, at least an elementary understanding of psychology from studying in high school and college and going back to college for it. And just because I understand how things should have been and what it did to me doesn't make it magically disappear. It's still a lot of work to be so self-aware of everything. Every reaction or thought that you have could be colored by the emotional damage done to you in childhood. It makes it really hard to, really be your best self. It's a big challenge because you're always doubting yourself and not being able to trust others. Going back to Erickson's concepts of trust and mistrust, autonomy and shame and doubt. If those very basic things are not resolved in a healthy way, it affects you for life, pretty much. I mean, yes, an adult can choose to leave the situation, and you see how hard it is for an adult to leave a toxic situation. Granted, some of the adults have had, emotional damage prior to that, which affects the ability to judge a situation, especially, if it was slightly unhealthy. But even more hard is, moving past the tendency to doubt yourself when that's all you ever knew. Your self-confidence never gets built up the way it should. Always questioning yourself, no matter how hard you try, and, your best is never good enough. You aren't accepted. You don't feel like you belong. You don't feel loved. You don't feel like you can trust anyone. You put yourself out there too much and expect this emotional fulfillment from others that you never got as a child. And, the vulnerability either chases people away, the neediness, or makes you a victim again because they see the damage and they take advantage of it, or, you set yourself up for that. And even being self-aware and realizing that you're fucked up from someone hurting you so much, you can still get caught up in it. You can still be manipulated. You can still be taken advantage of, you can still be cut down by the smallest little things. Like, I'm sitting here with tears in my eyes, just, I'm trying to put a little education out there because I don't believe that the person who was being dismissive was intending to be such. I just believe they don't have the knowledge and understanding. I don't think they're trying to not show compassion, but, just aren't completely aware of just how deep it runs, how deep the damage goes for these people. That, yeah, you can choose that, but when you don't have the confidence to trust yourself, to question others, because you don't trust others and you don't learn to trust yourself, then it's a million times harder to choose to leave a situation. Even if other people are encouraging you, even if other people are helping you, then you still don't even trust them because you wonder if it's manipulation. And it could very well be manipulation, but, it probably isn't. But you just never know because you are just that fucked up from childhood. Like, the earlier someone has to deal with emotional trauma or physical trauma, it's harder to heal from because that's when the brain's being wired. That's when all these patterns and thought patterns and, self-preservation is being wired into you. And, the more warped your situation, your environment, the more warped the way your brain is going to be wired. And it's not something the person can help. Even as an adult, you can't always help things until you become aware of it, and then you can deal with it. But if, as a child, you were wired in a screwy way, it's really hard to rewire your brain once you realize things. And even realizing it doesn't magically fix it. It doesn't say, oh, okay, I dealt with a narcissist, I'm all better now. That's not how it goes. You can't just be like, okay, yeah, I'm aware of this, and now it doesn't hold power. It still does, because every thought, every action, there's so much shame, doubt, and mistrust. If you don't learn to trust someone growing up, it's hard to trust yourself. And I know it sounds like I'm rambling, repeating myself, but I just need to get this off my chest. And, I really do see this lack of understanding comes off as victim blaming. Like, oh, you can choose to get out of this situation. Yes, but do you understand how hard it is to realize the situation is bad and to realize that you can find other people to trust and to help you to get out of that situation? As much as I suffer even now, I find it very hard to reach out and talk to people about it. And to ask for help and to even expect that the help will come if I do reach out. Like, I badly want out of the situation. I really do. I know how damaging it is to continue to be in the situation. But, it's like a delicate balance of, trying to walk on eggshells and minimize the things that would trigger the emotional abuse and finding ways of escaping it at the same time. And it's like catch-22, and without having the confidence that the escape route is safe and is actually there, it's really hard to put forth the effort. And self-sabotage comes into it. And then guilt from self-sabotaging, and it's a vicious cycle. And being stuck, feeling stuck, it's really a hard thing to shake. And like you said, the younger you have to deal with some fucked up shit, the harder it is to, like, heal yourself enough to even realize that there's something wrong, or there was something wrong. And then, you blame yourself enough that having other people dismiss how you feel or act like you should just get over it, or it should be easy to get out of, then you're like, well, why isn't it easy for me? And then you blame yourself. Even if these people aren't meaning to be hurtful, it still hurts because, they don't have that understanding. And, it's not coming from a place of malice, I don't believe. It's just the lack of true understanding of what made you the way you are. It's hard for people to understand unless they, study things like I do, or if they've experienced themselves or know someone who has, to really grasp the difficulty of leaving a toxic situation. And, it's not a comfortable thing to discuss. It's not. It's not going to be. There is no nice way of putting things like, hey, things were fucked up. I'm fucked up as a result of it. Sorry, but that's just the facts. Even just stepping back and saying, okay, I understand that this is why it's so difficult. It's still, it's depressing. It's really discouraging. And, it sucks. But, I think it's important for people to understand some basic psychology, especially if they're in a place where you're supposed to be supporting one another and helping each other heal. If you don't understand how hard someone's struggling to heal and you just say, you act like it should be easier for them, that's just setting them back. It's a terrible thing to deal with narcissists. They really, really, really fuck you up. And, I've put myself in situations that probably made the damage worse in many ways, and it's a constant struggle. It really is, guys. So please, consider that maybe, if you don't have the experience with the situation, that even if you're trying to give good advice, it may not come off sounding like that. It may come off like you're being judgy or dismissive, okay? Don't do that. If someone's upset with the way you're expressing something that, you think that you should be dealing with in a different way, try a different approach. And if you don't know what to say, just say, I'm sorry you're dealing with that. And leave it at that. If you don't know how to comfort them in whatever way, or to help them without making them feel worse, So, anyways, just feeling drained, frustrated, and in physical pain too, which probably is partially psychosomatic. So, I guess I'm just going to get an Epsom salts bath and try to relax and distract myself with something because I am not in a place of reading for anyone tonight. I'm sorry. So, hopefully the videos I took earlier today will upload. Anyways, thanks for anyone who bothered to listen, and thank you for those who actually show support and compassion. I really appreciate that. We all do. Good night.